Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing the art of dream yoga and how we can utilize our everyday consciousness to step outside of the train of thoughts, begin to observe them, and wake up from moment to moment, as Samael Mayor would teach, as well as from the schooling of Jerdif and Uspensky. They verified that in the conscious waking state, we could actually utilize everyday moments to wake up. And what I mean by wake up is wake up here and now in the waking state, while we are going about our daily routines. This is the perfect chance for us to utilize all the circumstances in our everyday life to wake up and say, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? He called it subject, object, location, to kind of tap yourself on the wrist and say, hey, what's the subject of right now? What is happening? And say, like, I'm going to the store. Location, object, who is this going to the store? Someone going to the store. You are this individual with this story, this ego. So subject, object, and then location. Where are you? You're in your city, you're in the store, you're in the car, wherever you are, you're kind of honing in from the third perspective, kind of seeing where you're at in your waking state. And by doing this throughout the day and just making it a habit, ingraining this habit in your everyday activities, you'll begin to carry this over to when you go to sleep at night. You'll be able to wake up while you're in that state, going through like another dream that you would have just went through, woke up, forgot about. However, this time in the part of the dream, you actually end up doing the practice. It carries over into the night. And once that happens, you wake up and you start to tap yourself on the back and say, hey, what's going on right now? Where are you? And when you look around the dream world, usually you'll see that things are not the same. For example, if you try to look like a clock on the wall, it could be melting, or the hands would be moving extra fast, or perhaps you look at the floor and the floor begins to move or rise, or you feel a sense of falling. These are all red flags showing that you're in the astral plane. And this is another dimension that you actually go to when you go to sleep. When you go to sleep, the conscious mind shuts off, the ego personality departs from the body and dwells upon the inner realms, the inner Sephiroth, the inner different planes of existence. Now, normally, if we're unconscious, we go to a realm where we are not so sure what we're going to dream. And when we get there, we won't be able to discriminate between this world and the dream world. So the soul just goes there, as says in the Upanishads. The soul travels like a stream going from the astral plane and then back to the waking state, the astral plane, and then back to the waking state. And then it goes back and forth between these realms, and each one reflects the other one. So this is the mysteries of Pisces, the mysteries of projection, the mysteries of understanding the separation between the witness and the perceived, as well as the dream state and the state of the waking state. When we're in the waking state, our I am consciousness transplants itself in the body. And if we become aware of ourselves in this exact moment between our deep sleep state or our dream state or being asleep and right when we wake up, if we can hone in on that exact precise moment and become cognizant of that moment, we can experience the realm of in between the astral plane and the conscious waking state. And this is, the universe has given this opportunity eternally every day to practice this, but we end up not utilizing these everyday occurrences and everyday opportunities that are given to us, even though they seem so mundane or so common. They're actually the keys to the supernal dimensions or the hidden realities. So dream yoga is the art of waking up in our dreams and becoming conscious of them, conscious that we are fully in a dream and not in the waking state. Therefore, you'd actually be conscious that you're in another body, a lunar body or an astral body that's outside of this physical body. So you'd be cognizant of being in another realm. So some mix this up with lucid dreaming, some with astral projection. So astral projection, lucid dreaming are actually different. Lucid dreaming, you're using your pineal gland to project on the screen of Brahman so that you can see in various activities. It's what your soul is capable of doing. It makes an internal virtual reality universe, becoming aware, manipulating an interior realm that you're creating and inhabiting. Astral projection is utilizing the higher vehicles of the soul that's actually able to transplant itself in the higher dimensions that are collective. So if that means if two people witness the same thing in the astral plane and they were both there, they would both see the same thing because it's more fixed, whereas your inner plane is more mutable. So astral projection is able to utilize the higher vehicles, in this case, the astral body, to literally travel into the different worlds and the other realms in which you are able to see things from a higher perspective, see your life from a more archetypal perspective. Things happen there without the stagnancy of time. The moments happen from moment to moment, but they kind of carry together in a way that's not in the same like fixed and discriminatory factor that is in the conscious waking state. Like right now, you know, like if you boil a cup of tea, you have to heat the water up, the water boils, you get the cup, you clean it, you put the tea in it. But in the astral plane, it might just happen that one moment you're washing the cup, next moment, boom, tea's already done, drinking the tea. There's certain time lapse that because everything goes into one and the other, sort of like the two fish, one chasing the tail. Things are more like more mutable essentially. So as children, we have a lot of this ability to be able to just fully be aware and consciously go to sleep and wake up in these interior planes. Simply daydreaming, you could end up finding yourself in like a, you know, a flying vehicle or flying or jumping on clouds or doing some amazing feature simply by just thinking about it and just falling, dozing off, combining your imagination with your will. The masculine will and the feminine imagination are combined to produce a state in which you slip into these different dimensions through that small state of being half asleep, half lucid. So you see astral projection utilizing these higher vehicles that when we had, you know, when we're young, pure, and in our higher natures, we have access to these higher vehicles. And then through society and the lower nature and indulgence, we lose access as our nervous system gets kind of blunted. So we have to refine this nervous system through and wake up our pineal gland by practicing awareness from moment to moment. So that means like even when you wake up in the morning and you're about to start your morning routine, and even when you're consciously researching truth or knowledge, or you're going about, you know, in a social way with your friends or your family, be sure to be the inner witness is constantly awake. And there's certain practices that you can do simply to wake up in the astral plane. For example, it's been told by many different practitioners to practice like poking your hand or simply look at your hand. Sometimes I stare at my hands and think how strange it is to, you know, be in this body and be able to control these fingers and these hands, and how that kind of, you know, what that feels like, go into the feeling of it. Without the attachment to the past memories. Or you could try to do a jump. Semi-on, he would say, hey, you're walking down the street and no one around, try to give it a little leap and see if you can fly. And if you fly, that means you're in the astral plane. But if you don't, then obviously you're awake here. And of course, in the moment, you'll think, hey, well, I know I'm awake, but hey, that habit must transfer over to the astral plane so that you end up doing it. And then you consciously wake up in the astral plane. So we wake up and we're in the I am. When we wake up in this waking state, we become I am. And we go about our day. We go to sleep and enter the realm of dreams where we lose the faculties of discrimination and then become more like an automatic mode. So we have to bring the consciousness from our waking state into the unconscious realm of dreams so that we could become discriminatory and be able to find and tune better experiences to help bring back information to the waking state of consciousness and make changes accordingly. Because in the astral plane is where the higher dimensions and the more subtle realities and beings are able to communicate with you. So I recommend everyone kind of study Rudolf Steiner, Knowledge of Higher Worlds, or Semi and We Were Dream Yoga, different aspects of that. So this does not have to necessarily happen where we're just going there and forgetting it. We can actually bring our consciousness fully cognizant there to that dream realm. So the astral plane is more real than the physical waking state. It's actually more closer to our real nature. This physical realm is more dense than the astral plane. It's a more subtle reality with less laws. When I say laws, I mean, like, for example, you can walk through things, you can fly, you become lighter. There's different things that, that you're just capable of doing. There's certain things that you don't have to do. For example, there's not like bones to break, things of that nature in the astral plane. So in dream yoga, you have to remind yourself throughout the day up to like 30 times, 10 to 30 times to check, are you dreaming or not? Regardless of what day of the week it is, what time of the day it is, just try to poke your hand, try to look at your hand, jump up and down, do something to try to see, because like in the dream world, your finger will go through your hand, but in the waking state, it won't. Or like if you look at your hand in the dream world, it'll start transforming, but in the waking state, it won't. Because the astral plane is more of a more mutable state of being. So one would want to be fully conscious of this process because there's more opportunity to receive divine knowledge there. And when we become lucid and conscious in these internal realms, we can teleport to the superior dimensions. There we can play and partake in the pastimes of the higher beings, the demigods, Krishna, Christ, archangels, all of the higher intelligent archetypal beings that are above like the ego personality centers of like physical beings, but the beings that are disincarnate or that are not incarnated. Some beings that have not even ever been incarnated. Some have been incarnated before, some haven't. But regardless, the more subtle realities have different types of activities and ways of being. And we need to raise our consciousness up to those higher planes of existence to be able to match the frequency so that they can communicate with us, so we can bring that information down to the waking state and utilize those functions. Otherwise, our life carries out kind of in an unconscious way. Everyone receives help from these unconscious planes, from higher beings that look out for them, from God, from their inner being, but they're just not fully conscious of the process. So when we're practicing Gnostic esoteric practices, the Prisca theology or the ancient theology, we're bringing down these ancient practices and utilizing them so that every morning, every day, and every night, we're in a state of consciousness, a state of awareness, so that when we go to sleep, we know that when we wake up, we're going to have our dream journal. We're going to write whether or not we remember our dreams and what happened in that dream, so that little by little, we begin to formulate a stream of consciousness and awaken to this internal plane of existence that's been there the entire time. So, of course, the dream realm does not have to just be a frenzy of unconscious patterns that takes place in your waking state and then transforms into a drama of some sort in that realm of the dreams, where you're tempted of all kinds of things, or negative things take place, or nightmares take place, which is all connected to the lunar plane of the unconscious realm of existence. So your unconscious nature, that lunar realm, is where we keep getting sent to every night when we go to sleep. And when we utilize our consciousness, transmute our sexual force, and lift ourselves up to a higher state of consciousness through service, through chastity, through charity, through being a truthful, honest person, for trying to provide for your community, your family, your friends, like taking on the archetype of the higher demigods of the planets, the beautiful creation that this creator has bestowed upon all of the souls. So when we access this inner life and we become awakened little by little, we begin to develop different ways to wake up in those planes. And if you're really on the hunt for waking up, I utilize practices from the dream yoga, Gnostic teaching, Samael Weor, and the abilities from Uspensky and Jurdiv. One would be, ancient mantras, like you would say, like you would focus like Egypto, Egypto, and then you feel that vibration in your chest, doing it, 10 times. Inhale, and Egypto. So essentially waking up those higher centers, you can feel the vibration in that plexus that's connected to the astral body, where the astral body connects into those nerve ganglion. And when that vibrates, it awakens those little electrical nerves and helps you remember, wake up, and kind of vibrate the astral part of yourself, so that it could be in a state of charge, a state of awareness, a state of awakeness. And of course, keeping a dream journal, logging, even if you didn't remember a dream, still saying, hey, I didn't remember the dream I had last night. Being for sure that you're saying that you didn't remember what you made sure that you did have, you know that you had a dream, you just didn't remember it. So you're programming your subconscious mind that instead of thinking that you didn't have a dream, you're remembering that you did have a dream, you just forgot. And that in of itself is a practice that's helping you wake up to be able to remember. So once you are fully awake in the astral plane, you'll be able to enter it even upon just sitting down, meditating, going into the astral plane. This is hard. It takes a lot of reoccurrence of innocence, energy, lots of willpower, lots of imagination. And once you are able to master this technique through the simple practices given, you're able to slip into these higher dimensions. So we'll be talking about like the mechanics of the actual leaving the body and astral projection as taught by the masters, and in part two of this particular video, the mysteries, the keys to the astral plane, and that will be more of the mechanics of how to do this. So that will be in the next video. Thank you.